Good morning, Lafayette. It is going to be one of them mornings. I'm having internet problems in and out, so I'm not sure how long I'll be here or not here or if I'll come and go. But it has been an eventful 24 hours here in Lafayette with all kinds of weather happening, of course, and all kinds of sports happening. It was an exciting game last night. I am your guest, your host, that is, so to speak. You are my guest. I am your host, Brian Burden, meteorologist, and I am going to be talking a ton of weather today, as I always do. We'll talk about the big game last night and how there were some good ups and downs in both the teams. And one team is great, and the other team is pretty solid still, and a good solid team, and has a chance of getting to the Final Four itself. But one team is a juggernaut, that is for sure. And it's amazing when you play around on Twitter and a few places how upset people can be when you tell them you're the best team in the country. Because no matter how many times I kept telling them they're the best team in the country, but I would show stats how Purdue still did pretty decent in places. They didn't like to that. Some of them, a lot of people though had great context in it too. It was really good about that. And I understood that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit after we get into the weather, of course. Locally, though, we've had some rain off and on through the night last night, and it does look like we will not see much more of that at all today unless you are heading east. And when I say east, I mean, of course, east of Lafayette towards Ohio. It's about where the rain has already moved off to. Hopefully my screens will be moving rather quickly today, but no guarantees because I'm getting a lot of those little circle things going on everywhere, it looks like. And there's a possibility of that. But currently 54 degrees here in Lafayette. Yes, a mild, very warm 54 degrees. The computer says we're going to head towards 69. And all I can tell you right now is if we stay in the sunshine all day, we may hit 70 very easily, as I've been telling you for a couple of days. And I talked about last week that today would be the day we have the potential to hit 70 degrees for the first time this year, and it is only February. Another warm day on tap tomorrow, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we cool back down. Look how cold it is on Monday. Lots of ups and downs, roller coaster type rides for us, temperature wise, especially in the next few weeks. Already starting to look like spring and the fact that we're having all these ups and downs. But generally speaking, it is still winter for a while right now. So, 54 currently, winds are 13 miles an hour. That's your trade-off. So 54 feels more like 45. That's the unfortunate thing about that. What did we get to yesterday? We go zipping around here. Yesterday, that's the 16th, 17th, 18th. There we go. The 18th high. Officially, we're shooting for, let's see, historical daily high is 40 degrees. All right. And the low so far this morning's been 40. So that's where we're at. Yesterday's high on the 17th was officially 58. We didn't quite scratch that 60 mark, but I was out and about. You may have been too. And of course, it was the cloud cover, right? The cloud was thick enough that it kept us from those extra couple degrees that we were hoping for yesterday. But today, maybe it is going to be that 70-degree mark. We'll have to keep an eye on it as we go through the day and through the morning this morning. As usual, you can't really talk about weather without looking at some kind of satellite picture. So I did just the Midwest this morning, and what you'll see is a warm front or cold. Excuse me, the entire system is wrapped around from Minnesota into Wisconsin, Michigan, and down through Illinois and Indiana and back towards Tennessee. And with that system, we are seeing that everything is moving off towards the east pretty rapidly. There were some scattered showers in there, but you can kind of wrap everything right there. The frontal boundary is already pushed over here into the area around Fort Wayne. Looks like there's still scattered showers in Michigan right now. And the low pressure system is right here cutting across like we talked about yesterday. And that's what it's going to be doing. Meanwhile, a very weak high pressure system is popping up right here in the central portion of the country. And that's what's going to build in today. Don't see much for cloud cover at all on this infrared shot. So that looks good. That means maybe some sunshine and open skies and warmer temperatures again today as we climb near the record high, and we're going to get right around 70 degrees, it looks like. So Lafayette, right about here, if you weren't able to tell where we're at, Lake Michigan's right here, Michigan right there, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, with Lafayette being right in this spot right here. So generally speaking, it looks like a very nice day today, and we have seen some changes in the forecast compared to yesterday, as usual, but they're farther out. So what we're going to see today is almost identical to what we forecasted yesterday, and for tomorrow is pretty similar to what we were talking about yesterday. So let's get right into it. Let's zoom in real close here. Let me get off of this. There we go. Hide the screen bar. Oh, look at all these different little factors and different things you can get into. But I'm going to float in close so you can see it. So there you can see Lafayette. You can see everything starting to clear out very nicely. The clouds moving off towards the east. I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you just a quick shot of the mosaic of the radar, of what the radars look like right now. There we go. There's the rain moving off into Michigan. Central Michigan seeing some pretty good rain showers, maybe even a clap of thunder. Isolated spots here or there are a possibility today up there, but generally speaking, everybody is looking pretty good up there. And you can see how the rain just kind of clipped Lafayette. We've got some there for a couple hours this morning that passed on through very quickly. Nothing happening out towards the west right now. And the low is wrapping up to the northwest of Minneapolis, St. Paul area. That means we have some pretty decent weather on tap for us today. So that's what it looks like, at least radar wise currently. So let's get into the models. Here we are already. The system, I put it kind of right where we are. 14Z is 9 o'clock this morning. The low wrapped up to the north. You can see it up there already. And then it kind of comes back and down and around the state of Indiana. You could almost call this an occlusion here with a warm front and then the cold front extending down from it with some kind of low getting ready to pop off at the triple point there. If you remember the triple point, let me draw it on here for you real quick. Okay, so the low kicks out a frontal boundary and it becomes a warm front all the way over here. But somewhere in there, there's a cold front that comes from that. And eventually what happens is a low pressure system forms at that spot where those two cross, right? Or in the vicinity of where those two cross. In this case, it might be even back here as all of this is moving in this direction this way. That has no effect on us, but it will affect the people in Ohio. Maybe even eastern Michigan might run into a bit more rain as the day goes on. But the speed of the system means most of it's going to go into Canada, it looks like right now, with most of the heavy rains pretty quickly this morning. So not that much of a problem for anybody locally or anybody in the United States, pretty much, except for the low, of course, up near Minnesota. Different system, different area, basically. So let's see what happens as we go on through the day today. There you go. You see the system moving off towards the east already. Lafayette being right here. Right there is Lafayette, so you can see that pretty easily. And then there goes the low. The low is just kind of panning across, right? Across the northern tier of the 48 states there. Through Minnesota, through Wisconsin. We are in just a broad area, what we call a ridge. Now, when we draw a ridge in here, we kind of go like this. It's kind of a zagging line like that. But you notice how it kind of opens up that area. You see how the ridge pushes its nose in there, that kind of thing. So a ridge looks like this on maps. If you see them, that's a ridging area. And that's usually high pressure ridge is what we talk about when we talk about those with the low to the north. So the ridge is keeping the low from getting anywhere down towards us, and it's cutting across to our north right now. And that weak little ridge area is keeping us high and dry and looking pretty solid. So here we are tonight. Let's go back to like midnight tonight. Here's midnight tonight. There's still nothing around. Look at the low. Has not moved that far. It's only gone from Minnesota to the northern portions of Wisconsin and maybe into the UP of Michigan. That is about it. But we are going to start seeing another developing low out towards the west. And I talked about this yesterday, how it would trail along and there would be another low that would pop out in the Great Plains, basically right around Kansas, Nebraska is what it shows at midnight tonight. By tomorrow morning, say at your wake up and when you're heading off to school in the morning at 8 o'clock, it does show a couple scattered showers around and the low pressure system starting to develop really strong and coming across Kansas at that time frame. But it just kind of throws a few sprinkles in the area. A light shower here or there tomorrow morning as a possibility before the actual precipitation picks up and we have a better chance of running into some more precipitation later in the day tomorrow into the evening hours. And that's when we will see the most. Now, the model has not updated, and I'm not sure if that's mainly because of my internet or if it's just the model itself at the College of DuPage is a little slow, but I'm pretty positive we're going to see showers form along this system right here. Matter of fact, let's go back to the 6Z. And see what the 6Z still shows that precipitation in the same place. This is 18Z tomorrow, which is roughly right in the afternoon, about 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon shows precipitation and a band of showers moving through with the low back here and snow on the backside of that back into Nebraska where the cold air is. So for us, still the warm air tomorrow and still pretty warm through that system. There you go as it goes through. So one low goes across the top. Another one develops and comes across north of us, and we just get a rain showers again tomorrow. And we keep an eye on that all the way into Friday morning, it looks like right now. Tomorrow afternoon, right about 4 o'clock is the time frame that they show here, 4 to 5, with showers passing through. So that begs to differ, or makes me understand that there is a possibility of maybe a thunderstorm in there. But the model is not showing it. Just doesn't show. There you go. It shows the potential for some lightning to our west, and then it just kind of kicks it apart or falls apart. Maybe the model's actually lost some data right in here. So as you can see, as I thought, and you probably thought the same thing as you saw the line coming towards us, is there potential for lightning? Well, there's no way that's skipping across there. So that's some missing data right there. Something's up with the model. But we can see that the potential for some lightning is to our west, just across the state line, right around 3 to 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Then give it an hour or two to get to Lafayette, and then another hour or two to pass through, and you're going to see basically 6 o'clock tomorrow. Now, this shows us at 7 o'clock, and it's past us, right? So this blob, which was over here, will be over the top of us around 7 tomorrow, and there'll be some chances for some lightning and some thunder with that. So it's something to keep in mind. Again, very warm scenario, cold air behind it. You'll have some potentials for some thunderstorms, but that is on the old run. The new run just is not fully in yet. It's only 66% in. And like I said, I'm not sure if that's my internet or if it's the College of DuPage's problem for with the model itself. All right. So let's take a look at the temperatures. What are we talking with this system? And look how wrapped up some of these temperatures are. Here we are this morning. I'm going to show you the big picture here, and then we'll zoom in a little closer just to get a general idea. We see all this yellow, all the warmth here from Lafayette all the way back down towards Oklahoma. Yet there's some cold trying to nose itself in behind the low pressure system. Gets very warm this afternoon. There you go, pushing 70 degrees. And then here comes a little bit of the cold overnight. Tomorrow rebounds back up. Looks like we're hovering around somewhere in the mid to upper 50s, even middle 60s. Look at that for tomorrow. And that is what is going to be the difference. See this? Look at 60s and 70s pushing their way into Illinois, but 20s are not very far away. And that will create some instability and the potential for our thunderstorms popping through in front of the frontal system tomorrow as a trough moves through pretty quickly during that time frame. So let's go back and then zoom in so we can see real close what those temperatures look like during that time frame. And what you're going to see is 57 here this morning, which is exactly where we are at the moment. When Lafayette being right here, right there where the finger is, of course. 60, 63, 65. It actually shows 68 this afternoon, but you can zoom around and you'll find 69, 70, a couple little spots. Remember, model is can be fluid in areas. So 70 is a strong possibility. Same thing we looked for last week for the day and yesterday and the day before. So we're going to stick with 70 again today because it looks like plenty of sunshine right now. Not too bad overnight, just drops back into the 40s to around 40 degrees, and remember 40 tomorrow morning is still higher than the normal high for this time of the year. So very warm system in our area and weather in our area right now. And then tomorrow we rebound back somewhere into the 60s as the next low pressure system, which you can now see in Iowa by tomorrow afternoon, starts to approach. You can kind of see where the showers are on this too, as you can see the cooler temperatures right there. Let's put it on there real quick. Bam, covers right where the showers are. Now, Lafayette is right here, and by this, we're just going to be on the northern edge of this little band. But will this extend farther north? It's hard to say. You see the frontal system coming out, and then the trough will kick down from that. Maybe another small low up in here, which has helped kicking that. It almost looks like it has a curvature on it already as a building low pressure system, and then there's that kink in it right there. So that is a possibility. But this is the 12Z run, and it's only gone out this far so far. Let me refresh. Maybe it'll pop a little better. Let's see what happens. Nope, still 66%, unfortunately. And then there's your potential right there. And then let's see if the zoomed in mode, which I don't believe it's going to be any different than the other one, but it could be. Let's just see lightning density on this. Here we go. Nothing. And then boom, right? Here we go tomorrow during the day. We start picking up the possibilities. There it is. Boom, boom, boom. And it shows, a pretty good streak down towards Terre Haute tomorrow. This is the 12Z model run. This is 20Z. So we're talking 3 in the afternoon, the potential for things to pop up just to our south. And on that trajectory right there, you're talking more Indianapolis, but we'll fine tune it by tomorrow if this is going to pop up like it is. Now that we're inside 48 hours, a strong possibility of definitely showers at the very least, and a thunderstorm or two is a possibility with that system. All right. So that's what you're looking at least on that front. With that, let's go back to the precipitation real quick here. Winter precipitation. Let's see what the other models are saying a little farther out. The NAM goes a little farther out, even though this model is old also. And it across us and brings us those potential for showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. This is more like 10 o'clock at night. So it's a little later with the band. It brings a band through right there. That's the 8 o'clock band, and not 8 o'clock in the evening, 8 o'clock Zulu, but that would be like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. It's a little farther south than the other one. So the potential for at least the biggest thunderstorms look to be farther to the south. And we are still not talking supercells here. This is just your random run of the mill, what other guys would call regular thunderstorms with some lightning in it. And it develops the other model showed, right? The Herschel. And look at the precipitation on that. And so it carries out until 10, 11 o'clock tomorrow night. That's Thursday night. Maybe a little bit of snow on the backside right here to keep an eye on for Friday morning. But generally, it looks like most of that misses us. And then we push out to Saturday. And here's the good news what I have been seeing. System that was Saturday night into Sunday has now been pushed much farther to the south and keeps us out of the snow. So that's good news. We've got to keep an eye on it because it still is 4 days away. And 4 days away means the possibility of changes. But right now, what it showed yesterday, where it kind of just clipped us and gave us 2 to 4 inches of snow, is now pushed farther to the south, and we're out of the mix of the snow totally with that system. All right, so let's look at the European model, see what the European model says for precipitation. We got to make some changes on that one. There we go. All right, here it is. This for what's the time frame here? This is Thursday, tomorrow morning, right? It's got a showery potential popping up earlier in the morning tomorrow by midday, and then passing through, and then another batch coming into the evening. So it's more separated on this, and this is more distinct. Also, this low is farther to the north. Remember, the NAM had it right in here. Right now, it looks like it's up to the north a little bit more, and that may change what we see with our showers and thunderstorm potential too as it gets in closer. And then it kind of skips along, no snow or anything with it. Let's see how far out this goes. This goes out at like a week. Does show a lot of lake effect snow starting to kick up again on Saturday into Sunday night, but no system. Let's go back. We were worried about Sunday morning yesterday when it showed a low right here, and that low was clipping us with snow, and there is nothing there Sunday morning now. So that's the good news. So if you saw my moniker at the beginning, snow or no snow, it looks like no snow at the moment, but light snow is coming off the lake. Plenty of snow up in Michigan. They got plenty of that up there. And then it just kind of comes off the lake because the flow is out of the north for a couple of days here. It looks like at the beginning of next week. And of course, that means cold, right? And then we finally get a system to sweep through Wednesday evening, it looks like. Very quick clipper system. And then bam, it's just there's some developments. We got to go, I think, a little wider to really get a good feel of this, what's happening. There you go. So we go back a little bit. And so here we are on Tuesday with the flow, but look at the flow now starting to change again next week on Wednesday as we look at Wednesday, and the flow continues to say, hey, look, we're coming from the southwest. We're going to start picking up some of this warmth up here again. And we're going to start throwing all this warm air towards us. So for a couple days, we're northerly, right? After the systems go through in the next couple days, and we're going to be colder, and then we're going to shift to the southwest, and we're going to start picking up warmth with another low back to the north, passing along like that, or something like this possibly too. We'll have to keep an eye on that one, and let's see what it actually does, that low. So here we are. This is next Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a system bumping through. The low stays north, but it drags a front along quickly through us. There could be some snow in that one. We'll go back to that one in a little bit and look at the potential for some snow on that. And then there goes not much after that. Oh, we've got a line of stuff way out next Saturday. Have to keep an eye on the system there developing. And I see cold, then warm, then cold, then warm. Now we're too cold again. And then here comes more warmth. You can see the flow again coming this direction. Other low developing on way out on the second Tuesday, March 3rd now. And there's a pretty good system that tries to bump through on Wednesday, March 4th. So we're a ways out on that one. Lots of changes can happen there, and systems starting to become more dynamic. We're starting to see more precipitation. We're seeing less of the Clipper systems coming in from the northwest, right, that we see during winter. We're starting to see more influence for systems from the south and down along the Gulf Coast, down along the Gulf of America. And so we're starting to see lots of ups and downs. Looking more like March, maybe middle to late March, than it is end of February, at least as of right now. We're March, we see a lot of these ups and downs too, and we can see that for times. Now let's go to GFS and see what the GFS says. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to change the way it looks a little bit so we can kind of see what we like to see here. So here we are early on Thursday, and it says there goes the rain through. That'll be Thursday night into Friday. We talked about that, right? Then there's nothing really happening on the GFS, which is the global model, right? It still shows this northerly flow, though, coming out of the north all the way through. This is Monday morning. High pressure's in control, but the winds are out of the north. Then this shift to the southwest. So it is exactly like the other model. Timing constraints and differences are there, of course. Maybe positions of low are slightly different, but all the models are saying southwesterly flow next week, which means warmer temperatures, right? Usually that's what it means. It's fleeting though. Look at that. It's a shot by Wednesday into Thursday with some more cold air comes in, and then it tries to get back to the warmer weather again by Friday, Saturday next week. Another low approaching from the west and some strong gusty winds. The trade-off with warm weather in the spring is usually strong gusty winds come with that. All right. That's the only way you drag in 70 and 80 degree temperatures in March, April, May, because you have strong gusty winds. This is setting up, showing us a very strong system next Saturday right there. Moving through most of the rain for us. We're in the warm sector, so that's the good news. Looks like Michigan has some snow, and then they turn back to rain up in Michigan even. And then we move on along until next Sunday, March 2nd, or well, now we're ways out, right? And it shows a system coming through around the third or fourth, also like the European model did, and big high pressure and control fourth. But you see the blue line here, the thickness line showing kind of where the freezing level is. That means the cold air is back in early March, third, fourth, fifth, and it shows it kind of hanging there for a bit with a system to our south. And this is 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks out, guys. So I wouldn't take too much light in that. That's a kind of a snowstorm potential there. Too far out, though, to really worry about. Let's take a look at the temperatures, though, on this and where we're going with temperatures on this front, on this system. So what do I say about these long trends and these long models, right? The GFS trends. We look for trends. We don't look for specifics that the model's going to do this and specific that it's going to rain and it's going to be thunderstorms exactly 2 weeks from today. We look for the trends up and down in temperatures. We look for trends of more rain or no rain. We look for those kind of things, windier, not windier. And most of the time, those trends are pretty close. So let's look at the trends now. And this is over most of the Midwest, so you can see it pretty easily. And remember, so here we are. We're still warm for a day or two, and then we're going to get the shot of cold for a little bit, and winds are going to come out of the north. You remember, here we are. This is now looking at Sunday. And on Sunday, we're seeing the flow coming from Wisconsin, Minnesota, back towards the Dakotas, all bringing into the Midwest. And that means colder temperatures. Folks up in Michigan, cold up there too for you guys. For ball games that'll be there this week and next week. I'm sure Michigan has some home games, Michigan State, that kind of thing. So they'll have some games up there in the next week or two. And it's still going to be chilly and it'll feel like winter for a couple of days. So this is Sunday into Monday. We're cold again. We even see some teens popping in and around us. We haven't seen the teens for a week or so after a long stretch of very cold all winter. Pretty much most winter has been below normal. But by Tuesday, we start to come back with some warmth. And then Wednesday, here we are, Thursday, Friday, still kind of warm. Maybe I just call this average, though. Your highs are in the 30s. Your lows are down in the 20s somewhere. But look at the big ball up of warmth out to our west. There's a low pressure system. Look at these strong, gusty winds out there to the west. The people on the plains looking at temperatures in the 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s at times, depending on where they're at. There's pockets out there. And then it's starting to pull that, and that brings it towards us by the end of next week. So most of next week is at normal or slightly below normal. And then by the end of the week, we're back into the warmth again. Right? Look at that. Here we are by next Sunday. We're back in the 50s and 60s. It's very warm, and it's good for a bit. And then by midweek, the following week, by Tuesday, March 2nd, March 3rd, maybe Monday, March 2nd, we're starting to warm back up again for a while. Yet the temperature is still chilly at night, which is pretty typical. And by the end of the period, by way out on March 6th, I would still call this below normal, but generally still not too bad. Still shows us getting into the 40s. And by that time frame, I think our highs are averaging generally in the 40s. And still another big pocket of warmth out towards our west that will head towards us by the end of that period, it looks like right now. So you can see how the roller coaster is going to continue. And we're going to see a lot of this over the next 3 months where we see ups and downs. Warm for a few days, cold for a few days, warm for a few days, cold for a few days. Rain, 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 no rain. That kind of thing. That's what we're going to see. Right now, we're in a pattern where every 20, 36 hours, we seem to see some kind of frontal system go through, and we get some light sprinkles or some rain, maybe even snow by the time the temperatures change later on. And we'll have to keep an eye on those systems as they go through. So there's a lot going on there. When we go back to the actual temperature again, right now, it's now up to 55 outside, 12-mile-per-hour wind out of the southwest. Remember, in weather, they work with fromies. That's the way to remember it. Fromies. Winds are from the southwest, 12 miles an hour. Still show the high temperatures pretty good. This will probably update in the next, maybe by the time the end of the show is over. We'll see if there's any updates on temperatures on this. But again, this is the canned data straight off the model. It doesn't have your look and my look into it to see whether we think it could be higher or lower. Is there more cloud cover? Is there less cloud cover? That kind of thing. We don't have that input into it. We go back and look at the map right now. Go back and look at the infrared chart during the time frame. We can see just really, really good weather. But let's see if we're starting to pick up any visual shots now. So there's the nighttime shot of the visual, and then you start to see the ground grow and the colors change a little bit because this has a blue tinge to the ground to it. And so you're starting to pick up clouds. You can see them pretty easily now. Lots of cloud off to the east, down to our south, back up into Michigan where those showers are. You can see them very distinctly, and nothing happening. Also, I don't see any snow on the ground really. Let's come in real close and see if we can see any snow on the ground here in Lafayette. There we go. Yeah, there you go. So, oh, nice. You are picking up the waves in the clouds, right? See these waves, these streaks like this? It's usually turbulent weather, turbulent kind of strong, gusty winds. Maybe at the surface, right? Because these clouds are above the ground. But let's say you're flying out of Lafayette today. It might be a bit bumpy as the flight heads up to Chicago or to Detroit or wherever it's going. If you're going out of Indianapolis today, it looks like there's some bumpiness in the atmosphere there. That's the aviation forecaster coming out of there to tell you that. Don't really anything on the ground now for snow. Everybody's pretty much done. Yeah, piles here or there that were on the sides and places where the sun has not been able to get to at all, because I live out in the county. I see that everywhere, in the woods, especially along sides of hills that are facing towards the east. A lot of those did not get rid of the snow yet. Pretty much everybody's lost their snow currently. So that's the first really good visual we're starting to see. And we see some of the low clouds still hanging around the area and a lot of the turbulent air that's still above that for those that are flying today, maybe flying out or heading out somewhere else. So that's your picture for right now. There you go. Solid half hour of what the weather looks like on what is generally a quiet day. We still looked at just about everything. Hopefully you're going to be able to get out and enjoy today. I think with the temperatures the way they are, I take the slingshot today. For those who don't know, the slingshot is basically a three-wheeled motorcycle. And it's that way because I can't hold the motorcycle up anymore. I'm old. My legs don't work because I had a spinal cord injury years ago. All right. So I drive the slingshot around when I get a chance. And today is a day to take it out if I can. And I may do that. Grab one. Can't do that. An optometrist appointment later, and I won't be able to see. So maybe the wife will have to drive around that. So she likes driving that too. So let's get out of here. Let's start talking about some of the other happenings in the area now that it's 9:30 on Wednesday, February 18th. And what have we been seeing? Where have we been going? How long is it going to take for my computer to catch up and move over the screen for me? Is it going to do it? I see lots of circles on there. You guys can probably see it too now. Oh, there we go. Maybe we have moved over and I am into the picture. But we're going to start talking about the big ball game last night. The big ball game. Now, Purdue lost the ball game last night, and they lost 91-80, but they scored 48 points on the supposed best defense in the country last night in the second half. Now, there's arguments all over the place about what could be and what could be. First off, let this be told, no matter how many times I tell people, Michigan is the best team in the country by far, and their numbers show that they could be one of the best teams of all time based on KenPom. I like that. What's wrong with that? Why would you be upset about that? But for some reason, Michigan fans, some of them put in good context and talk about it. A lot of Michigan fans don't like the fact that it pointed out that Purdue beat them in the second half yesterday. Okay. Well, yes, I understand it. No problems. Don't call me names and get upset at me about it. Just put in some context because I the same thing a lot of them do. The Michigan team just kind of held Purdue at bay and just kind of stayed there like it was. They didn't have to put in the big effort that they needed to. That being said, they still couldn't shake Purdue no matter what they did. So something to think about there. Is your team that great? Yeah, absolutely. We believe it. Maybe the best team of all time. Who knows? I'm just saying that. But you did lose a game. You did have problems with Northwestern. Now having problems shaking Purdue. So is there some faults that you can fix? And why not talk about it? Because Purdue's going to talk about the fault it needs to fix. And it's going to talk about some of the good things it did, like winning the second half, like staying in the game, playing hard, all that stuff. Michigan did some of the same things, played hard. It was really a good game between the two teams if you stopped and looked at it and stopped whining about who fouled who and who did what, where, when. And, I still haven't cleanly looked at the play where the supposed F1 was, and that led to 5 consecutive points for Michigan straight up, and that apparently changed the entire game. But you can't conclude yourself right there and just stop and say the game was over because of that, right? You still got game to play, and Purdue came out and did that. The players did that. They kept playing hard. They didn't stop. Neither did Michigan. Michigan, yes, maybe could coast a little bit in the second half. Maybe they didn't play quite as hard, but they still gave up 48 points, and they're supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country. And Purdue, though, for it, is one of the best offenses in the country, too, right behind Michigan. They're both right there. It's not like they're both not good, right? So it was to be expected that each team might score 48 points. In the first half, Michigan scored 48. In the second half, Purdue scored 48. In the first half, Purdue only scored 32. And in the second half, Michigan scored 43. So big win for Michigan in the first half. And literally over a 4-minute period, they outscored Purdue 16-0, I believe is what the run was. And they got up to 22 points ahead. So during that period, they obviously were the best team. But if you look at the rest of the game, they were not. That's nothing against them. Nothing against them at all. They're still the best team. Well, why would you be upset about that? But some positives to look for Purdue, even though it's a loss. You wish you didn't at home. And if Michigan lost and had shot the percentages that Purdue shot, they would be complaining too. They would be saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe we shot this. Look at the numbers. Okay, so Michigan comes in and shoots 57% from 3. 57. Set an all-time record for Dusty May's teams with 13 threes and 57% shooting percentage. And when I said if you take 2 of those away and add 2 to Purdue wins, Michigan fans got upset about it. Okay? But you shot 57%. Like your bench went 8 for 9 from the 3. That's unheard of. But that's basketball. That's part of it. If they came out and went 1 for 9, we wouldn't be thinking that much of it other than they shot like junk, right? They're awful. But Purdue did shoot bad. They only shot 30% from 3, which is far below their average, right? And they only shot 40% from the field. I'm rounding up. It's 39.10%, right? Where did Michigan win? Michigan won the rebound battle big time. Purdue won the turnover battle, right? Purdue won the steals battle. There were battles back and forth. Michigan won the shooting percentage battle. They won the three-point battle. That's how you win ball games. Nothing wrong with that, right? So if we reverse the roles right now and look at the numbers the same way, Michigan would be complaining, we shot 30% from 3, and we only shot 39% from the field. Well, yeah, that's because maybe Purdue did something, right? In this case, Purdue shot like that because Michigan played good defense, right? Yet Purdue still scored 80 points. So there's positives to be fed from their team. A lot more positives for Michigan, their best team in the country. A lot more good things. Good things from Purdue. Lost to the best team in the country. Didn't go away. Michigan couldn't shake them like they shook so many other teams this season. And there's some positives to be said from that. Never gave up. A couple shots either direction, and you never know what happens. Generally speaking, though, as some people pointed out from Michigan, and I definitely believe that too, hey, Michigan, you take two of the threes away. Well, the way they were with offensive rebounds, they may have gotten one of those offensive rebounds, put it back up anyway, and still scored 2 or 3 points, right? Very strong possibility. Meanwhile, if the two extra shots for Purdue to go just a ball, may have taken more time to get the ball. So it just depends. Pluses and minuses both ways. It's good to talk and have fun with it. I enjoyed it. I wasn't trying to be demeaning to Michigan at all. I still think they're the best team in the country. If you're going to put money on it, that's who you put it on. Although you're not going to make much because they're the number one team in the country. So it's just something to think of. Here's some of the numbers. Number one ranked Michigan defeated number 7 Purdue 91-80. Just Purdue's 4-game winning streak and dropped the Boilermakers 21-5 overall and 11-4 on the Big Ten standings. I believe it's 11 games in a row for Michigan. So it's an 11-game winning streak for them. And Purdue has now lost 3 games in Mackey Arena for the first time in 7 seasons. A season that lost 5 games. That was a pretty rough season. That was COVID, getting into COVID kind of season time frame. A lot of things were wacky that year for everybody, right? And Purdue is now 3-21 against the number 1 ranked teams in the country, 1-6 against number 1 in games played in Mackey Arena, just like almost every single team is when they play the number 1, right? Purdue was looking for its first win over number 1 since the 78-79 season when they beat Michigan State. So, just like all teams, they lose to the number 1 team. Purdue has lost 3 straight games to Michigan, the longest active losing streak in the Big Ten opponent. But I believe Purdue won 4 or 5 before that. So these teams are good in any given year. They're I keep hearing blue bloods, but Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, they're the blue bloods of the Big Ten right now. And sure enough, all 4 of those teams are there, right? Now you can add not Nebraska as a blue blood yet. Gotta do it for years in a row, but Nebraska looks great this year. Teams on the fringe, you see stuff like that. Purdue fell 4-2 against Michigan when both teams were ranked in the top 10. So they were 4-1 before that against Michigan when both teams were ranked in the top 10. This is the first time that it's a while. And Purdue averaged 1.03 points per possession in the first half and was out-rebounded 21-14 in the first half. Bam, game right there. In the second half, Purdue averaged 1.33 points per possession and still got out-rebounded 18-17, so it was more even. Hence, Purdue won the second half. Purdue scored 80 points, shot under 40% in regulation game for the first time since November 8th, 2022 versus Milwaukee. And that game, they scored 84 points still. And it marked only the second time under Matt Painter that has happened in the regulation game where they shot under 40%. Wow. That has to do something with Michigan's defense, correct? There you go. Something to look forward to for Michigan. And since the start of the 22-23 season, Purdue is now 17-20 when allowing a run of 10-0 or larger. And that happens to all teams. Michigan used a 16-0 run in the first half to take control of the game. And it is. They control the game. They kind of held Purdue at bay there, but Purdue would not go away. Like that little dog gnawing on a bone. Wouldn't give up on it. It was kind of pointless, but I did see a couple fans from Michigan say, oh, and they got to 7-8 points there in the second half because it did. They started thinking a little bit. All right. So it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pristine. It wasn't a perfect game, but it was a good, solid game. And I would just call that an A- to B game for Michigan. That's all it was. They could have played better. And for Purdue, it was probably a B game because the hustle and everything else was there, but got out rebounded badly and they didn't shoot good at all. So I would call that a B game for Purdue. And that's nothing. And that's because that's what Michigan did, right? Michigan created that less than an A game. So generally speaking, both teams played good. So that was a good game, really, to watch. I'm a Purdue fan, and we lost. All right. So Trey Kaufman-Renn scored a season-high 27 points with 12 rebounds. In 4 games against top 10 teams, Kaufman-Renn is averaging 15 points a game, 14 points a game. He's just the third player in the last 20 years to have at least 27 points and 12 rebounds against the number one team in the country. So that's something to be there. All right. Fletcher Loyer and Braden Smith tied the school record, their 136th start, matching the mark set by Etwan Moore in 2008 and 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. And of course, they got more games to go. Fletch made his 263rd career three-pointer. Now, 18 shy of tying Carson Edwards for the school record. And Braden Smith recorded his 24th career game of 20 points. 20 points, which all came in the second half. I'm still wondering whether maybe he was still fighting a little bit of the flu in the first half because he sat on the bench for a little while. He did still have 6 assists, and I think he had 4 or 5 assists in the first half, and then got all the points in the second half because he had to do a little more to try to see if they could stay in the game. Smith moved into 5th place on the NCAA career assist list at 986, and he's chasing down the top lead, maybe getting there by the end of the season. He's going to have to average 8-9 a game, though, for a while now. So basically, still, it was, Michigan's big front court. For some reason, Purdue kept pounding it down low instead of shooting a three. And they got so far behind, I was thinking, you've been shooting a three great lately. Why are you not shooting the three? And they just weren't doing it. Now, Michigan had a lot to do that. Maybe Michigan was pushing it, trying to keep them at bay out there so that they couldn't score and shoot the three. But if Fletch gets up 10 threes and he makes 4 of them, they are 100% winners. Not that could be broken and could have been broken yesterday. Maybe Fletch makes 2 of them and they still lose by 6, right? That's just the way the game is. But you got to shoot the shots. And it just seemed like they were trying to pound the ball down low. And Michigan did what Connecticut did a couple years ago in the national championship game. Let them get their points down low. Just keep them from shooting threes and we'll win the game. And that's exactly what happened. And the other aspect was I heard several analysts talk about how Michigan goes on these runs. And sometimes that's all they need to win a game. That was exactly what happened yesterday. Game's really close. Everything's going pretty good. The first 5 minutes or so, they go on a 5-minute run. Boom. Now everything's changed, and Purdue is having to fight back, and Michigan just needs to kind of hold them at bay and keep the game there as it was, and that's how they won the game. So a couple of them analysts before the game were pretty good. That would be a shout out to Greg Waddell for that. All right. So that's the potential there, at least for him. Let's look at some of the stats, though, that highlight some of those. I'm going to go to the actual scoreboard here. Boom, boom. Here comes the PDF coming up quickly for me. And it's going to show, like I said, the shooting was down for Purdue. Okay. Hence, that shooting probably came, obviously, from what we would call the defense, obviously, of Michigan, because they're the number 1 defense in the country, or close to it. There. I have to go to KenPom. I don't have my phone. Where's my phone? All right. So by the end of the game, here's what KenPom basically said. All right. Purdue stayed in the 8th spot. They still have the number 2 offense, but their defense dropped to like 27th now from the teens. They were in the 18, 19 spot. Michigan's offensive rating is now 4th, but their defensive rating stayed number 1, and they have 39.33 points, which is close to the highest. I think that's actually less than what they were before that. So they actually lost a little bit on their net rating. I think they were like 39.6 or something like that. They were a little higher. But it doesn't matter. It's really good, obviously, right? Number 1 defense in the country, number 4 offensively. Purdue, number 2 offensively, number 27 defensively, which puts them at 8th. That's about what they should be. They're 21-5. The only teams they lost against are great teams and really good teams. The Indiana game would be the one I look at. UCLA is still not that bad. UCLA is somewhere in the top 25 or 30 here somewhere. Okay, so Indiana's 38th and UCLA's 42nd. So both teams are still rated really good. And that's 2 of your losses. The other 2 are against Illinois, Iowa State, and Michigan. Okay, all top teams. Nothing to be ashamed of in your season. Your season is not over, and it will not be over anytime soon. So that's something to keep in mind on that. I see too many people worry about this. Some people say, I saw some people say they should get rid of Painter. Painter's the one that built this and got it to where it is, right? So stop with that kind of thing. It's just one of those things, folks. It's the coach can't shoot the ball. You can't make them make the ball. None of them are trying to miss on either team. And one team shot better than the other. That's just the way it works. All right. Let's see. So time-wise, Braden only played 34 minutes. Normally he would play 38 or 39. So I still feel like maybe he had a touch of the flu or something in the beginning. It sounds like I heard someone say last week he had the flu. That's not an excuse. I mean, he still scored 20 points, had 6 assists, only 1 rebound was unusual. Trey Kaufman-Renn had 27 points and 12 rebounds. So he had another double-double, right? Oscar, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and he only scored 4 points. We've got to get more out of it for more than half the game, right? If he's going to play more than half the game. Daniel Jacobson, his replacement, did have 3 rebounds and 2 blocks and only scored 2 points. And everybody who played for Purdue scored. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of bad shooting. Well, poor shooting. 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 4. That would be Clough, Cox, Venter, and Jacobson all shot 1 for 4 in this game. Meanwhile, Dakari Harris was 50%, 1 for 2. Omer, 3 for 6. Fletch, 3 for 6. Braden was 4 for 13, but he hit 10 free throws, so he got to the line a lot. So that's where he got a lot of his. And Trey Kaufman-Renn was 12 for 26, so he was almost 50% too. Big 3-point shooters were hit 2. Fletch hit 2. Cox hit 1. He was only 1 for 4. Omer hit 2 for 4. And Jack Benner was 1 for 4. Jack's cooled off after a pretty hot early January, I think, there in his 3-point shooting. That'll probably come back to him. But Fletch scored like the first 5 points and then only ended up with 11. And by halftime, I think he hadn't even shot again, it seems like, or maybe once after that. He got like all of his points in the first half almost. So it was one of those things where there was just lots of mixtures of bad with some really good stuff too. So, and that's the way basketball. I keep telling people, well, okay, the stats say that Michigan should win. Why should we even play the game? And other people are, why are you talking about this? Well, why not talk about the game if they're going to play, right? Otherwise, what's the use of having the game? I don't understand. Okay, watched the game last night. What do you think? Nothing. Don't think anything. I want to talk about it. What? Just talk about the game. I don't care. Michigan, you got a great team. I love that the fans who talked back and forth said they thought this happened and that happened, and that's why they won the game in this game. That's great. That's why we talk about these things. We learn a little bit. We have fun. We feel like we're kind of part of the team, even though we're not really part of the team, right? That's how it works. If you're a sports fanatic like I've been my whole life, that's how things are. You have fun with it. But I am not someone who is not open to what the other team has to say, because let's go look at some of Michigan's numbers. Look at these: 30 for 57 shooting from the field, 13 for 23 from 3. All these great numbers. Free throws, 18 of 23, great free throw shooting. I think Purdue had great free throw shooting too. Everybody who got in for them scored. They were a little more spread out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys scored double figures. Great. 2 guys got double-digit rebounds in Johnson, Morez Johnson Jr. and Ade Mara, right? That 2 of them got rebounds. 2 guys got 7 assists. It was spread out more, right? It was nice. That was good to see. And that's what Purdue does a lot of times. And they did do that most of the game yesterday too. 2 really good teams, 1 great team, 1 really good team. Competing yesterday in a really good basketball game. I like the games when they're up in the 80s and 90s. That's just me. I like the offense a little more than defense. You might have something else that you like. You may like those big defensive work. I heard lots and lots of complaints that they didn't call fouls. Okay. And I heard this from both sides, mainly from Purdue fans. And you normally do that because you're losing. That's just the way it works, right? But then when Michigan had some problems and Purdue was trying to come back, they were complaining they weren't getting any calls. Okay. So it's just the refs try to do the best they can. They're not in the tank. They're looking at views. We get to look at it from a camera and slow everything down so we can see things a lot easier than they can at times. They are going to miss stuff from occasionally. It does get annoying when you see them hack, and then go down to the other side and barely touch somebody and call a foul, right? That gets upset no matter which team you are. Whether you're Michigan or Purdue, that would be upsetting. And apparently that happened a lot, especially in the first half. But that's just part of the game, right? I don't think there was much complaints from the coach or the players. They thought they played a pretty solid game. Michigan just played better, and that's the way it works. That's how the games work, and that's how everything works in life, right? So that was pretty exciting about that basketball game. Next game for Purdue is going to be Thursday, I believe. Let me nail the schedule and get you some times on that real quick here. 2 days, 10 hours, 9 minutes, 46 seconds left to go. Purdue's 21-5 overall. And of course, the game on Friday is going to be against Indiana. Time 8 p.m. and it is on Fox, so you'll be able to watch it. You don't have to mess with Peacock getting their money from people, and I think a lot of the people in the Big Ten are just saying no, we're not going to watch it, right? Maybe they go out to a bar somewhere and watch it, whatever. Getting frustrated to have to pay them $15 a month to watch Purdue twice a month or 3 times a month. Same with the Michigan fans. I'm sure they think the same thing, right? So Indiana, Friday night, 8 o'clock, big time game. Fox prime time at 8 o'clock on Friday night for that game. Michigan State follows that up next Thursday at 8 p.m. They are back on the Peacock for that game. Another primetime game next Thursday. And then to Ohio State on Sunday, who won a big game over Wisconsin last night. And then to Northwestern at 8:30 on Wednesday, March 4th. And then Saturday, March 7th, back home for the last game of the season, 4 p.m. on CBS against Wisconsin. The Wisconsin guys. So Big Ten Network, 2 CBS games, 1 Peacock, and a Fox game. So most of them you'll be able to watch. The Peacock game you will not unless you actually have a stream. I know usually Fox and CBS you'll be able to find. And a lot of times when it's on the Big Ten Network, it will be streamed on YouTube by somebody. Somebody will do that, right? They'll get into the streaming and do that part. So, that's kind of how it's working out today and how what we're seeing actually today and where we're going with that. So what else is happening in the world? Well, there's so many different things. I only have like a few minutes left. Let's see if we can hit some headlines. Of course, Jesse Jackson died yesterday. Robert Duvall died too in the last day or two. So they say these things always run in threes. Well, right now, who will be the third in the next couple days? Jesse Jackson, great pioneer for civil rights activist, obviously, especially back in the 60s and 70s. I remember growing up and hearing a lot about Jesse and watching Jesse. Then he ran for president a couple times. So that was pretty exciting. He was along with Martin Luther King Jr., and they worked together. So Jesse passed, and of course Robert Duvall, one of the greatest actors that's been out there. Not necessarily your lead man, this good-looking, big, strong guy, but a man's man. As he just looked, his hair was missing. He was doing all kinds of stuff, but he always had gritty, hard parts he played. I remember the first movie I watched him was in The Great Santini, of course, where he was an aviation pilot there. I'm going to have to go back and show the grandsons that game. Or that movie and see what that's like so they can see it again. Because I remember it hitting me. And then, of course, I became a Marine. That was, different. Kind of maybe it felt a little stronger even after that. But The Great Santini and other great movies that he did in his life. So we lost him in the last week or two. Some of the things to do around the area, we talked about some of this here off and on. You can get some ratings for working on cars in the NCCER Core and OSHA 10 ratings. This is going to be in the Frankfort area. Registration's now open for that learning program, and it'll still be open for 2 more days till February 20th if you're interested in that. And it's at the Learning Network of Clinton County in Frankfort. So if you are interested in that, it's something you can do. We've been talking about this maple sugaring event that's coming up in Delphi. Well, it's called the Delphi Taste of Mardi Gras, but the Tippecanoe County Historical Association and the Warren Peace Company will be hosting their annual maple sugaring event Saturday, March 7th and March 8th at Fort Weotnon from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. This free event features homemade pancakes, sugar harvest, and syrup and rendering, along with historical reenactments and raffles. So maybe not quite what they do in the fall in October at Fort Weotnon, but it sounds like it's going to be some fun out there on March 7th and 8th from 10 to 4 p.m. 3129 South River Road. Fort Weotnon is where that's at, of course. That's one of the big events coming. Then there's a Creative Connections event coming Wednesday to 25th, so a week away, from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. Indiana can be rather gloomy, of course, and cold this time of the year. So Wednesday on the 25th, they're going to hold this at the Traditions of Lafayette Senior Living Community. The Creative Connections event hopes to help adults 55 and older recognize the signs of loneliness in senior adults and how to address it through socialization. I feel this myself because I'm struggling with physicality and problems from a spinal cord injury years ago, and I'm married and have family around me, and I struggle with loneliness at times. It feels like, and then there are times I want to be that way, right? Because I don't feel good. So this is going to help people. Traditions of Lafayette, 250 Shenandoah Drive, next Wednesday, February 25th, from 2:30 to 4:30. Maybe that will help your senior that's around you, your grandmother, your grandfather. Maybe they could come to that and enjoy that. And then the acapella lessons started, it looks like 2 nights ago, but I think you could probably still join in. If you have an interest in learning to sing a acapella, now's your chance. All the way through March 23rd, it looks like every Monday night. 6 weekly group voice lessons, completely free, from the Tipica Notes director, Ariel Cudworth. So there you go. Those are some of the happenings around the area. Let's buzz back to weather real quick. We are still at 56 degrees outside, officially on our way up close to 70 degrees. It looks like the weather is very solid for us for today, and we are not having much of a problem at all. Temperatures will be very nice for just about everybody. And it looks like on the satellite picture, whoop, here we go. Come on, show me some satellite picture. Satellite picture is not running at the moment. There we go. So that's no fun. Kind of out of the picture on that one. We'll go back to it. Let's see if we can get it to run again. The qualms. Let's switch it over here and see if we can get it on here. Nope, no satellite picture at the moment. So can't show you that. I wish I could show you that. But what I can show you is her. Come on, her. The whole College of DuPage page is down. Very nice. Very nice. So seems like we're going to be ending the show here then pretty quickly, since we don't have any information to pass on. What we do have, though, is, of course, a high temperature somewhere around 70 today, folks. Lots of sunshine in the picture for us. We're looking pretty good on most fronts weather-wise. Some potential for some rain tomorrow, and then another, again, like 36 later. As we look at Saturday into Sunday night, where that system with the snowfall looks to have now pressed to the south. So it seems like we're going to stay out of that mix, at least as of now. It is Wednesday. By Friday, we'll know that it's going to stay south, if it's going to be down there, or whether it's going to move its way back up, which we saw with that one system 2 weeks ago. Remember the big snow? It showed big snows, then it moved it south, and then as it got closer, it moved it back to the north, and we got into the mix of the snow there, and everybody got a couple snow days out of that one, right? Remember that. So that's how the changes can happen based on longevity. The farther out the model goes, the less accurate it becomes. But inside 48 hours, we're pretty solid. 90% out of 100 things you're going to see and hear that I tell you will probably pretty much come ashore and happen. I like that, come ashore, as you're attacking shore, so to speak. That's a military term, of course. But it kind of sounds like the weather portion of it too, when you start to think about those things. And coming ashore, the winds come ashore, clouds come ashore, and for us, weather comes ashore. If you're a weatherman, that's what it is. All right, so that's it for today. Big loss for Purdue last night. It's the #1 Michigan Wolverines took a game from Purdue last night, but it was a great game. It was a fun game all around. And weather's going to be a lot of ups and downs, with warmth right now, then cooling off, then warmth, then cooling off. But for the next couple days, it's going to be nice. Get out and enjoy it while you can. And I will be right back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to show you more of the weather, and we'll talk more about sports or whatever you may want to talk about. It's been great talking with you. We'll see you again tomorrow.